Oh my god, hey there, welcome to LeeReader. My name is Lee, and today I'm going to be doing my big American book haul. Did you like it? Did you like the accent? I think I can work it. You know, I think I convinced a few people when I was over there in America that I was American. Hello, welcome back to LeeReader. My name is Lee, if you hadn't already guessed, and yes, it is time for my big American book haul. Now there are going to be a load of books on this list because I may have come back with 18 books. So I've separated them into 3 separate sections and I'm going to talk about them in those sections. So section 1, books that I bought that I already own. Now the books I'm about to show you are books that I do own myself, but I found different versions that I wanted instead. So let me show you. Now the first 2 books I own in hardback but not in paperback, so I thought I'd get paperbacks, and those are Paper Towns and Will Grayson. Now obviously John Green is a very popular author, but these covers are so much nicer than the UK versions. They are unbelievable. Will Grayson, this is the coolest book cover I've seen in a long time. This sums up the book perfectly. It's just wonderful. I love the cover of this book, and like I said, I've only got it in hardback, so at least I now have a paperback version for when I want to reread it, so I don't have to ruin my hardback. And it's the same with Paper Towns. I love the drawing pin cover. We had this cover for a while, and then they got rid of it, which I don't understand why, because again, it sums up the book perfectly. It has the reference to the drawing pin in the shop, so I love these covers, both of them. I think the Americans got the better deal when it comes to John Green paperbacks, definitely. Now the next 3 books are all books I've talked about on this channel and are all books that I love. So we have Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, Looking for Alaska by John Green, and The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Now these 3 books all have one thing in common: first editions. I absolutely love first editions of books, and I can't believe that I found first editions of all these 3. I know it sounds insane, but first editions to me, I personally collect them. I really enjoy first editions. I do my best to get hold of first editions. So when I found this one, first edition and signed, I was definitely all over it. I've already said that Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda is probably my favourite YA book of this year. Probably crawling up into my top 10 of all time. It's a book that I absolutely love. So I was so happy to get a hardback first edition of this. Now with Looking for Alaska and The Hunger Games, I actually picked them up at a second-hand store. First edition Looking for Alaskas are stupidly rare. Not a lot of people can get hold of them. It's got a slight tear in it, which I'm a bit gutted about, but can't believe I got a first edition. I now have first editions of all of John Green's books, so there's a fact for you. Because I've loved John for a while before he got uber mega famous, and yeah, this is the only one I've never had a first edition of, which I think I've mentioned before. So I officially have a first edition. And then with The Hunger Games, we never got hardback versions of any of them. We had straight to paperbacks. So again, I was so happy that this is a first edition. And again, it's in pretty good nick, and it was only like $8. And it's, again, first editions, so that is so cool. The second section of this book haul are books I got at the book swap. Now at VidCon, there was a book swap held by Christina Horner, so you took some books and you swapped them around with people. It was so much fun. A load of people bought a load of different books. It was wonderful. I hope it's going to happen again next year, because if it does, I am so going to be there. Now the books I took are all books that I love. So there was Look Who's Back by Tim Mulveymes, Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, and Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling. And these are the books I got in return. So I got Clariel by Garth Nix. We actually have the paperback of this now, but someone didn't want this, and this is so cool. There was a few of these floating around actually, but this is, I want to read this book because it's kind of like being described as Game of Thrones for YA version. So I'm very excited to read it. I think it's going to be very good. Next I've got a kids classic in The Letter for the King by Tonk Dracht. Again, it's a book that I've heard a lot about but never ever read. So I was excited to get this. They were all wrapped up, by the way, so we didn't know what we were getting. So I was quite excited to get this. I think this was a good pick. And the next one was a book I was very excited about, and that is Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. Now I've seen bits of the anime by Studio Ghibli that was made for Howl's Moving Castle, but apparently the book's much better, as it always is, so very excited to read it. It was recommended to me a lot, and the girl who bought this actually saw me with it, and she was like, it's so good, you have to read it. So hopefully it's going to be very good, and I have high hopes. And part 3. New books! Now the next few books I'm going to show you are all books that I just picked up, books that I've never read, books that I wanted to give a go and looked interesting to me. I mentioned a couple of them in my July wrap-up and my August TBR, so you might see a couple of familiar faces, but let's get to it. So first of all, we have Chasing the Moon by Ailey Martinez. You may remember me mentioning a book called Monster earlier on in the year. This is another one of his books. Again, it sounds hilarious, it sounds very funny, very excited to read it. Difficult to get hold of, these ones are in England, so I was very happy to find this in a Barnes & Noble down in in Nashville. So yeah, very excited to read it. Next up, we have The Maze Runner by James Dashner. Now, I've never read the Maze Runner series, I've said that before, but I really want to read them, and I love this cover. It is so cool. Again, I think this is nicer than the British covers, and again, American paperbacks, mentioned it before, love them, absolutely love them. So I'm excited to get into this. The only problem is that if I really like this, I'm then going to have to find the American editions of The Scorched Trolls and the Death Cure, and probably the Kill Order. So I might be heading over to the book depository because you can't get these covers in England, so might be heading over there shortly if I enjoy it. Next up is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Now, when I got to the States, I'd already read A Darker Shade of Magic, so I wanted to give this one a go. It is so good. I've already read it. I think I gave it 4 out of 5. I might push it to 5 out of 5 because it was just wonderful. It's just a great book. It was a fun read. I really recommend it if you like anything sci-fi, anything a bit fantasy. This is very dark as well, but it's great. It is so good. Next up is The Shock of the Fall by Nathan Filer. Again, this is in my August TBR, so I really want to read this. It's been recommended to me. It won the Costa Book Prize a couple of years back, I think. It's supposed to be very good. I've heard great things. Yeah, very excited to read it. Next up is another book that was on my TBR, and that is Grasshopper Jungle by Andrew Smith. This was also on my TBR for August, so I'm hoping to get this read. Andrew Smith is coming to do an event with us soon, so I want to get this done. Looks funny. I think it could be very interesting. It sounds like a nice book, like an interesting book even, not a nice book. But yeah, excited to read it. And again, American paperbacks, just so much win in America paperbacks. You don't know how lucky you guys have it when it comes to paperbacks. They are so good. Next is another book that I already read, and that's It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vicini. Now, we talked about this book in my August TBR because I have finished it. It was okay. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be because I think the back of the book made it sound way more exciting, but it was still a good book, and I think if you like anything like Girl Interrupted, I think you should go and check this out because it's definitely along those lines. And finally comes a book that I know a lot of people are talking about at the moment, and that is You by Caroline Kepnes. Now, when I went to VidCon, a lot of people were talking about this book. They were either reading it or planning on reading it, so I thought I'd pick it up on my way out of the States and give it a go. I haven't started reading it yet, but it sounds very good. It sounds very dark, very horror thriller type, but I've heard, like I said, I've heard great things, so I'm very excited to start this. I think it's got great potential. So those are all the books that I bought while I was over in the States. I had such a wonderful time, and I've got a load of new books, which is always great. Then I've scattered around the floor because I need to sort them all out. But yeah, I got some great books. Let me know if you've read any of them and your thoughts on them. Also, let me know about paperbacks. If you're British, let me know if you've come across any American paperbacks and what you think. Or if you're American, let me know if you've come across any British paperbacks and let me know what you think. Yeah, let me know if you like first editions like I do, and do you collect them like I do. And yeah, just let me know about the books. Let me know. I hope you all guys have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you sometime next week with a brand new video. Goodbye. End of the video bit. So yeah, if you're going to somewhere in the city, let me know down in the comments below. I'm excited to see you. I'm actually a volunteer, so I'm going to be floating around kind of everywhere, but I'll have a designated t-shirt to let you know that I'm volunteering. Yeah, hopefully I can make it to the booktube panel. I'm excited for it. I think there's some good people on it this year, so I think it's going to be good. Yeah, I hope you all had lovely weeks, and I hope you're all well, and yeah, I hope you're good. I have nothing much to say. I'm kind of all talked out, so yes, I hope you're all great. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week with a brand new video. Goodbye.